begin with, let me create a class, name it as maybe, let me take yesterday's example itself. I'll tell what was yesterday's example for polymorphism? Animal, right?
Yes.
Okay, we have an animal class, okay, and you create an instance of animal, right?
Yeah, we had tiger and deer class that we created.
Okay, then from this parent we derive child class, right? So I'll indicate it with the arrow mark. So I'll just keep it this way here, and here I'll say, I'll just remove this from. Then we have tiger. Okay, these are the two classes which were derived from animal class, correct? And this also is derived. All right, now we have instances of tiger. And instances of, sorry, tiger again, sorry, deer. Okay, now this is the blueprint class. This is the instance. Instance means when I say new animal, that is an instance. Tiger is a class again. This tiger is an instance. This deer is a class, and this deer is an instance. Okay. Now, what is polymorphism? Okay. Polymorphism is something like when a object can take multiple forms. That mechanism is called as polymorphism. This is not a keyword. It is a simple mechanism which is named as polymorphism. And what exactly does that mechanism tell? It just tells that a given object can take multiple forms. Is that clear, Sheetal?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what is the usage of it? When you have a function, so let me write a function. I'll write a function. Let me choose a different. Okay. Okay. I'll just name this as animal run. This is a function. Okay, or I'll just keep this a to keep it simple. Okay, I have a variable here in the function. I mean, the input parameter for this function is of type animal. Now, this is a function. All right. Now, this can use this function. This can use this function. This can use this function. How come all the three can use it? Because all three are animals. Okay, so now all the instances of animal and its children can take the use this function. So here you can see even tiger takes the form of an animal in order to use this function. Deer takes the form of an animal in order to use this function. Correct?
Yes.
So this is what is the mechanism of polymorphism. All right.
Vinod, I have one question here.
Yeah.
This animal run function is inside animal class or it's like in the entry class?
It could be anywhere. That doesn't matter.
Okay, but it can be in the tiger class also?
It could be anywhere. Polymorphism just says that it the object instance takes different forms. That's it. No matter where it is. Okay. So don't worry where it is. Just
Okay.
know that the polymorphism concept is just that the instance can take different forms.
Okay, okay, Vinod. Thank
That's it.
you.
All right. Clear?
Vinod,
Yeah.
so polymorphism comes only in inheritance, like to inheritance. Does it comes in composition also?
It doesn't come in composition. It comes in inheritance and in something else.
Okay,
I'll teach you that one today.
okay, thank you.
All right. Now, next is next you want to see composition, right?
Yes.
Okay, this is polymorphism. This is clear, right? So I'll just keep this to side. I'll now try to explain composition. Now, what is composition? Can someone tell me the definition?
It has a relation. It comes with has a relationship.
Yes, it comes with a hazard relationship. So what is the advantage of it? Now, if I ask you to create a class for maybe Abhi. Yesterday we talked about creating a class for how would I
Fine.
put assets maybe, or maybe not assets. So maybe let's say human. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, so let's say we have a class for Abhi itself. Okay, and we have an instance of Abhi. All right. Now, what does composition say? Composition says that it is a has a relationship. And what is the advantage of has a relationship? You can keep adding as many things as you want. For example, if you have a class of say mobile and an instance of mobile, okay, now this Abhi instance can have, sorry, mobile can have a class of maybe car, then instance of the car, okay. Now Abhi can have maybe a bike or a home, instance of a home, correct? Now, not just to this level, it can go to any level. For example, now home can have um, a class called um, um, home items. Okay? This could be anything from a fridge. It could be a um, cot, or it could be something washing machine, right? Now, why do we need this? This can be inside the house. I'll just make this small, so with just a WM. Now, what is the advantage of this has a relationship? Now, Abhi has mobile, car, and home. Home has fridge and washing machine. Okay, and now within mobile, you can have camera, speaker, Bluetooth, correct?
Right.
So there could be here, there could be Bluetooth, camera, and display, whatever. And display can have within it resolution, then number of pixels and all that. Okay, car within itself will have engine, within itself will have number of doors, within itself it can now engine within itself can have capacity, fuel type. You can go to unlimited number of layers. One can have within itself and within itself and within itself. It can go to any depth you want, right? Now this concept of has a relationship is actually called composition. Okay. Now why do we need this? Because it is like this. Now we can easily write code and access everything starting with Abhi itself. Sorry, I need to keep this small a, right? There's the instance. Now, if I want to access Abhi's washing machine, how would I access? I need to say abhi.home.washing machine. Okay. If the washing machine has a property of color to be black, okay, I need to say abhi.home.washingmachine.color equal to black. Now you can see right from Abhi, I'm able to access everything. So one has within itself, then it has it within itself, right? So this has a relationship is actually called composition. Now, just like polymorphism, composition is also a mechanism, not a keyword. Is that clear to everyone? Sheetal, are you good?
Yes.
All right. Anyone else still having issue? Ruchi, I have unmuted you.
No, I'm good.
All right. All right. So, shall we proceed now?
Vinod, can you share the code with us? Like whatever we have done so far?
It's already done yesterday.
Yeah, I know, but like in the drive, can you share the code?
Yeah, I meant to say that it is shared in the drive.
We did not see it, Vinod.
Yeah,
Actually,
we
I
can share.
also was looking for.
Okay. Give me a minute.
The whole code is
Learn about exception. Okay. Give me just 1 minute. You can still see my Eclipse, right? Sheetal, can you confirm?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Now you can see my slides, right? Let me
Yeah.
present. What is an exception in Java? Can you tell me, Sheetal, or anyone who would be interested in answering that?
It's in runtime. It won't show in compile time.
Mm-hmm.
Exception is like array out of bound exception
Mm-hmm.
or divided by 0. That kind of exception it will show in runtime.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. So exceptions are events that occur during the execution of a program. Okay. And something which is not expected. That is not a normal flow. Okay, so by mistake whatever happens, you start to see exceptions. All right, now when you have exception in Java, you can handle it. Okay, and the way you can handle it is by a try and a catch block. All right, now Sheetal, can you tell me what is a try and what is a catch block?
Mm, so as I see here, it says that try means the statements that you want to that could give an exception, and catch means how do you handle it or
Yeah.
yeah.
So basically, let's see an example so you'll understand it much better. Okay. So let me just create a folder or a package and give it a name called exception. Okay, I'll create another class inside it called the entry class and make it public static void main just to confirm it works. Let me do here. I can do a okay, I can see the output. So this is what is working fine. Now here what I'll do, I'll write another function, or maybe I'll write everything here. So I'll say int I equal to 0. Okay, int j equal to 10. Okay, correct? Yes, no, correct? Sheetal, I want you to respond, please.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. Yes.
Okay, now when I say or maybe double result equal to j divided by I, that is 10 divided by 0. Now this is going to give me a exception, correct? Because
Yes.
when you divide by 0 it will give it infinite, and that will be an error in Java, exception in Java. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
when I run it, you can see it says in the thread main, I'll just zoom in the thread main, there is a divide by 0, so that is giving an exception, and the exception is arithmetic exception, java.lang.arithmetic exception. All right, yes, no, understood?
Yes, we know.
Sheetal, anyone having questions so far? What is the
Yes.
exception? Okay, now there are millions of scenarios where such things could happen in a real project, correct? Yes, no.
Right.
Now
Yes.
you don't want your end user to see this exception, correct? Because you don't want them to know what is happening inside the project. So maybe you want to say something like something went wrong, we'll get by the we'll get sorry for the inconvenience caused, and you'll display something, correct?
Correct.
You don't want to do something like show all the error on the screen, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So you may want to handle it, right? Now
Right.
the code would not end here. Maybe I'll use some square, right? Maybe double square equal to result into result. Okay, now this line won't even execute, right?
Right.
So then I'll do a system dot out dot println. I'll say last line. Okay, I'll just run this. Now this line was not even executed. Okay, so let us debug to see where it is breaking. I'll just do a debug now. Okay, now here, give me a minute. Sorry, yeah, here. So let me just go inside. Okay, sorry, I need to be here. This line is executed. Give me 1 minute. I'll just check. There is some problem with my full screen setup. Yeah. So I just did a breakpoint, and I'm just flowing through this. Now, if you see this, I'm on line number 11. That means line number 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 all executed. Then even 11 would execute. Then when I do 12, it would not even execute. It will just break at this point. Okay. So you can see the output entry has come, but divide by 0 is coming. Okay. Exception is coming. Right. Do you agree?
Right.
Now, we can actually handle this. Okay. What if instead of doing this I equal to 0, what if this value is coming from the input scanner, okay, which is dynamic value, correct?
Okay.
When it is coming from the input scanner, dynamic value, you actually will not be able to control it. Do you agree? You won't be able to control what is the value.
Right.
You can of course put some conditions, like it should be greater than 0, only then accept it, otherwise ask for another scanner input. You can do a lot of things like that, but in general you never know what is going to end up, and you may not have planned for something. An unplanned exception might occur all of a sudden. For examples, things like you never know when the network will break, when the internet will go down, when there will be a fire, what if there is a natural calamity and something is breaking down, what if there is all of sudden power shutdown in one of your servers. There could be many scenarios where things can fail, right? Which you cannot predict. Okay, the things which you cannot predict, but you still don't want to do something wrong. For example, if you have a server at one end and a server at other end, those two servers are, for example, communicating to each other. Okay, and now something happens in between. One of the server goes down. The other server should not stop due to that. It should display something like, okay, our such and such a service is down. We'll get back to you soon. Sorry for the inconvenience. Or something like that you have to do, right?
Right.
Yeah. So how do I do that? So to do that, I will have to put a try class. So I'll do a try here. Okay, we'll have a try and then a catch. Then inside the catch, I'll just put a exception with a system.out.println, and I'll say exception occurred. Okay, and I'll say e dot get message. Okay, and let's see what happens now. When I execute this, it says exception occurred. This is my hard-coded string. Okay, let me just put a colon here and rerun this. From here to here, it is exception occurred. And now there is a message which says the exception is actually divide by 0 exception. So I'll just do a breakpoint here. Now let me run this code here again. Now there is a debug happening. So let me just go here. as soon as there is an exception, it comes to the catch block. It doesn't execute everything after that. So after line number 14, it comes back directly to the line number 19. Okay. Now the whole exception is actually coming inside this variable e, that is the reference e. Okay.
Okay.
Now let's see what is there in this e. Now this is the exception object here on the right side, which I have highlighted. This says this is a arithmetic exception, and this has lot of details, but you don't need to worry about it. You just need to worry about few things, that is the error message and the type of it. The type of it is arithmetic exception, and the problem here is it says divide by 0. So divide by 0 is the exception message. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, now let me stop this and let me just comment this line. Now let me also comment this one, because let me not comment this. Let me make this something like a 2. Okay, now let me just debug it here. It divides, square gets calculated, last line is printed, it doesn't even come inside exception, and done. See, entry and last line. So this entry and last line is actually, as per our example, the expected workflow, control flow, correct? Now whenever there is exception, something wrong happens in between, and because of that you get an exception and the whole flow is disturbed, right? So that is what is exception, and using a try and a catch block you can handle it. And when does the catch gets called? When you catch that particular exception, that is whenever there is an exception, only then the catch block is executed. Is that clear? Is that workflow clear?
Yes, Vinod.
All right, anyone having questions with this exception?
So when we give try catch, the code will still continue, right?
Yes, the code will still continue. For example, here if I say maybe int a equal to 20, the code will still come to 23rd. Fine, let me show you. Now in the normal execution it will come, okay, like this: 12, then 14, then 16, 18, then 23. All right, clear? This is a normal execution. Line number 20 is not executed because there is no catch. This line won't be executed. Okay, now let's create an exception here and then let's see what happens. Line number 9 followed by, sorry, I just did a jump. Line number 9, 12, sorry, 11, 12, then 14. Then we expected 16 to be called, but due to exception it go here. Then it will go to line number 20. Then it will go to line number 23. Clear? So where the exception can be caught only inside the try block. So if you have limited code inside the try block, only that will be caught. Okay, is that clear?
Vinod, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Still, when we are catching the exception, the last line is not executing.
Line number?
Line number 18.
Yes, because from line number 14 to when line number 14 has a problem, every code after that will not be executed. Okay, but because it is inside the try block, it will come to the end of the try block and then it will continue because you are catching the exception there. Once you catch the exception there, it won't go outside that limit.
Is there a way we can execute the last line?
Last line, which
Catching
one?
the exception. So basically, if we catch an exception, we can just catch an exception. We cannot execute the remaining code.
Yeah.
Is that what?
So
Okay.
yes. So it is, you have to decide what you want to catch and what you want to do with it. Okay. Say for example, there are scenarios when you actually want to execute something even if there is an exception. For example, if you have some memory allocations happening or some file IO operations doing, you have opened a file, and after you have opened a file there is a exception happening. At that moment you want to probably stop the file IO operation. I mean, you want to close the file, correct? Even if there is error. So there are scenarios which you may want to be executed even if there is exception or even if there is not an exception. Now line number 20 will be executed only if there is no exception, correct? What if you have a code which you want to execute even if there is exception or not? Okay, that you can do it with a keyword called finally. Okay, here okay. Excuse me. So let me run this. Now you can see there is an entry, there is an exception happening, and there is a finally executed. Okay, now when I change this to true and run it, now there is entry, last line, and finally is called. Is this clear to everyone?
Oh, why did you use finally here, Vinod?
We use finally to
What?
make sure even if there is an exception, then also the finally would be called. Even if there is no exception, finally would be called. So the question was, what if we want to make the line number 18 be executed even if there is an exception?
Yeah.
That was,
So if we put this finally before the catch,
no,
then
you
that will
can't.
be executed.
You can't put inside before the catch. You can move this code to finally.
Oh, okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay, so the sequence is like this: try, catch, and then finally. So now the last line will always be printed. So without exception also it will be printed, and with exception also I'll show you it will be printed. Here you can see the output here. It says first entry, then exception occurred, then last line, and then this.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
All right.
Vinod,
Yeah.
so for this, we should know yes.
The question was more on can we plan for the exception? Yes, we can plan for the exception. Okay. How do I put it? So line number 14 is the only line which will have an exception. There is no way these three lines or this line will have an exception. Agree? Yes, no?
Yes, Vinod.
Yeah. Okay, give me 1 minute. Okay, now here I can move this outside of the try. I don't need to have it inside the try, and I can move this also to the line here, or if you want to the finally. Okay, but double is declared inside the try. See now, okay, forget the compiler error, but did you understand the concept that we are expecting error in line number 15 and only that we are keeping it here inside the
Yes.
try?
Yes. Yeah,
That is under,
because we declared it in the try loop. Yeah.
yeah. So now the scope of the result is within this braces, right? So we cannot access it here. So just declare it outside the braces like this. Keep this declaration outside here and remove the double here. Okay, and okay, it just says I'll just keep this 0. Okay, is this clear now so far? How what is the exception and how we can handle it?
Yep.
Okay,
Binu,
anyone? Yeah.
can we nest this try catch finally blocks?
Yes, you can. You can do anything.
Okay. For example, now we got the result line number 15 under the try block,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have a finally for the line number 24. But
Yeah.
then if we want to catch, if there is an exception at line number 4, if we want to catch, can we
Mm-hmm.
put this again in the try block?
Yes, you can have as many try blocks as you want. So
Okay.
again, if you're expecting, for example, error will happen in line number 1.
For line number 24, if I'm expecting error for line number 24, let's say.
Yeah, you can have it.
Okay.
So you want to do something like try here
Mm-hmm.
and a catch after that.
Yeah. Okay. So we can nest it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
So
good.
try and catch can be inside the finally too.
Yes, yes. I didn't want to do this, but someone made me do this. But don't get confused with this. You can do it. Just remember that. That's it. Don't worry about all these things. Okay. You just need to know we have a try, catch, and finally, and you can have n number of tries, one within the other, outside the other. So something like you can have a try catch for this line, and again after few lines, again another try catch. You can have n number of it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Now there is
We know
another
one
feature.
question.
Yeah.
Sorry, could you please explain about finally and the if there is a, let's say, print line where there is int a equal to 20,
Mm-hmm.
that will also be executed, right?
Anything inside the finally will always be executed.
And outside the finally, because when I give it outside finally, it is always executed too.
Yes. So our try and catch is only handling from here to here. Okay. Now, if there is an exception on this line number 15, it is going to catch here, finally is going to execute, and it is going to come to line number 25. After 25, it will just continue as a normal code.
Okay.
Okay. If you don't have exception also, it will come to 25 and then execute as a normal code. Now, if there is an exception in line number 11 and there is no try catch, so it will come to the end of this scope, that is line number 29. 27 would not be executed. That is if there is an exception in this line number 11. So whenever there is an exception, the whole scope gets skipped. So if there is exception in line number 15, right, whatever you write here, right, everything will be skipped, because exception is happening from this scope, from here to here. Everything inside that scope would be skipped, and just because we are doing a catch here, it is actually executing. If we don't have a try catch, the scope would be this, and I mean, the try and the catch is what is catching the exception, and just because you're catching the exception, Java is continuing from there. It understands that, okay, this exception is expected, and if this happens, let's handle it like this.
Okay.
If it doesn't know how to handle it at all, it will just throw and it will close the program.
Vinod, if I have exception at line number 10 or 11, it will not go into final, yeah?
No, it will not execute anything after that, because line number
Okay.
10 is not inside a try catch.
Okay.
Clear to everyone?
Vinod, after catch block, like if there is no finally block, all code will be executed, right?
Yes.
After try. So why do we put finally, like anyway, like code is gonna be executed?
Okay. We want to. It is something like how do I put it? You just make sure that it is always executed.
Okay.
So you're asking the difference between line number 29 and line number 34, right?
Line number 29 and
28 and 34. Both will be executed always. Why do we need a finally block?
yes,
right?
yes.
Actually, finally make sure the code is executed. Okay. Now, don't compare line number 28 and 34. Compare it against 25 and 28. Now 25 would be executed only when there is a exception, and 25 would not be executed when there is no exception. Right? Now, your line number 28 is actually going to execute no matter whether there is an exception or no exception. So compare it against the catch block. Don't compare it against outside the try.
Okay.
Okay, let's keep it that
Thank
simple.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
Vinod, I have one more question. Like, try, catch, and finally, they need to be together, or we can have few lines between them, few lines of code between them.
No, they need to be together. It's a syntax. It needs to be together.
Okay.
There cannot be anything in between. All right. So this is a syntax for try, catch, and exceptions. Okay. One final thing before I close the exception. Now you can have a scenario where you can export multiple types of exceptions, like from a single function. Say if you have a function to open a file, then do some calculations and then close the file. Okay, now the exception may happen in different places, right? One could be that the file did not even open because the file path is wrong, or even if the file is open, it may not be able to do the calculation, that there could be a divide by zero exception. So it could be multiple scenarios where the problem could occur, correct?
Right.
Now you can handle this like, if you have such and such an exception, do this. If I have such and such an exception, do this. You can do a kind of a if else, if else. It's not actually if else. It's like you can control what should happen when such an exception happens, what should happen when a different kind of exception happens. Okay, for that you can actually create multiple catch blocks. So when there is a, what is a try block, it is actually going to handle the wherever exception happens within the try, the catch would be called, correct? Now this catch can be multiple. Okay, and here you can say arithmetic exception. So arithmetic exception occurred, and this is the normal exception occurred. Okay, so I'll just execute. This is not giving any syntax error. So now divide by 0 is an arithmetic exception. So that line is caught. The line number 25 would be executed, but the line number 27 would not be executed, because once there is a throw, that is once there is an exception, you can catch the thrown exception in just one place, not in multiple places. Is that clear?
Yes.
So here you can, so for example, you can also have a file IO exception. Say for example, if you are doing some file operations here, you can say file not found exception. Okay, now the compiler is smart enough telling that there is no file operation happening here, so this will never be executed. But just in case if you have a file operation inside the try, then this will be executed, right? So I'm just showing you that such a thing is possible. You can have multiple catch blocks for a given try. Okay, clear?
Vinod, one quick question. Like here you are using like multiple catch blocks for a single try. So can I have multiple try blocks followed by one single catch?
No.
Is it possible?
Why would you need it?
Say for example, in line number 17 you are performing some arithmetic operation. So in line number 12 or 13, if I'm taking some input file.
Hold on. Every try block needs to have a catch block. The catch block could be one or many. That's it. Okay. There's when you say multiple try blocks, it's as good as telling you have a try block without a catch. So that's not allowed. Every try needs to be followed by a catch.
Okay.
Okay.
Vinod, can you tell me what finally is doing? Because if finally is doing it, even if there is an exception or not, then why do we catch it? Why catch is doing what catch is doing?
Catch will be executed only when there is an exception. If there is no exception, if there is a normal flow, finally will be called. So finally will be called whether the exception occurs or doesn't occur. For example, if you open a file to do some operation, no matter if you open the file or don't open the file, you have to close it so that you don't block the memory or anything. So such things you can do it in your finally block. For example, how does the internet work? You have to have an open port network. Okay, it should be a TCP IP port network, and that port should be connecting to another server, and from there it should receive back the data and then close the port so that it can be used for the next time, something like that, right? So all these things are happening now. Someone definitely would have written code for it, right? In your Wi-Fi settings or somewhere they would have written all this code. Now such a code needs to make sure when you open the port, after you open the port, somewhere in between there could be a disconnection or something can happen in between. No matter if they have disconnection or it works successfully, the opened port has to be closed, otherwise your port will always remain open. So there is some part of the code which needs to be executed whether there is exception or no exception also. So such things you put it into the finally block. Clear?
Yeah, like the regular ones which we forget to do it, or they have to be done, like file closing, as you said.
I just said what you needed. Like finally is a block which will be executed if there is exception or if there is no exception. Simple. Okay, that is a finally block. So don't complicate things here. Keep it simple. Just understand the concept and just apply it.
Vinod, if I get a null pointer exception also, catch would be able to catch it, is it?
Yeah, catch can catch anything. So I'll show you. There are many ways of many kinds of exceptions. So I'll show you them. So there is arithmetic exception, array out of bound index out of bound exception, class not found exception, file not found exception, IO exception, interrupted exception. Then there is no such file found or no such field. There are many kinds of exceptions. Okay, each of this can be separately caught. Yeah.
So Vinod, like when we are writing a program, how do we know? Is there a place where we can see where it's
Google.
like all these
Google.
exceptions are?
Google.
Google? Okay, okay, okay. So there is no class, inbuilt class in Java where exception class or something, which will give us all the list of exceptions?
See, it won't give you the list of exceptions. Google will give you all the list, okay, all the needed details. But in general,
Yeah.
you want to catch any kind of exception, then do this
Right.
exception E. If you want to catch generic exception, then do this. I'm sorry, this is a generic and this is a specific
Yeah.
one.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
Is it clear to everyone?
Can
Shall
we
we?
write our own exceptions, user defined something?
Yeah, you can have your own exceptions. That is possible. You can probably search online to see how to do it. Okay.
And you know that catch exception, what you're written in the third catch, that exception catches any kind of exception, no matter what, is it?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So if there is an arithmetic exception, this will catch, and these two will not be executed. If
Okay,
there is a file not found exception, this will be catched, and the other two will not be executed. Anything other than arithmetic exception and file not found, it will be caught by this exception.
Okay. And what if the catch exception is above the arithmetic exception? When you get an arithmetic exception, which will be executed?
Can I leave it to you to try it out yourself?
Okay,
I
sure.
don't want to confuse others. It's
Okay,
not needed. So that one you can try it yourself.
okay.
All right. So whatever I have covered in this classroom is more than enough for your interviews. So keep it to that level. If you want time and if you have time and if you're interested, you can go ahead. All right. Moving on. Shall we move to the next topic, everyone?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. The next thing I want to cover is abstract class. Okay. Can someone tell me what is an abstract class? What you know about abstract class?
Abstract classes cannot be instantiated.
Exactly. And
So abstract class are used to hide the implementation details. That's the main use of abstract class. It has at least one abstract method in it.
No, it need not have at least one. It can have no abstract also, without any abstract methods. But yeah, abstract means it is a class. Abstract class is a class which is defined with the keyword abstract. And okay, I'll just show you the slides. Abstract class is a class which is declared as abstract, and it may or may not include abstract methods. Okay, it cannot be instantiated. That is, you cannot say new of an abstract class. So if I have a human class as abstract, you cannot say new human. Okay, but you can create subclasses out of it. Okay, so say for example, if you have a class, okay, I'll come to the example soon. The rest of the details you can just go through it. It's simple. You can do a subclass, you can have this kind of methods, statics and all that. That's all simple. Okay, let me go to the code now. Now here we have let me create close all this, save this, let me right click new class, sorry, package, I'll say abstract. I'll create an entry here, new class, entry class, public static void main, finish. Okay, now inside this I'll create another class, new class, call it and maybe call it as a person, and there is option to keep it abstract, finish. So if you don't choose that abstract option, this keyword will not come. That's the only difference, so don't worry about it. You can even type it manually. Okay, so when I say public abstract class person, this abstract class is now a class which cannot be instantiated. That means when I come here and say person p equal to new person, compiler will say this abstract class, you cannot instantiate this. Okay, got it? And now what is the practical usage of this is your question, right? Yes,
Yes.
no? Now if you have another class, okay, and that is a student, okay, and student is derived from a person. Every student is a person, right? So finish that. Then again you have another class, new class, and there is a employee, and this is also derived from person. Finish. Okay, now you have your entry here. You can create student, yes, equal to new student. Okay, you can have employee e equal to new employee. These two lines will not throw error, but this will throw error, telling that, meaning that if you have something which is declared as abstract, that can be only used for definitions, but not for your you can declare how it should be, the type of it, but you cannot give the definition of what should happen in that. I mean to say that, say for example, now your person can have, every person will have a name. Okay, now every person of course will have a name, right? So if I remove this abstract, this is a normal inheritance. So far it's clear, right? With the normal inheritance, person p is possible. The only difference for the abstract classes, you don't want anyone to create an instance of a person, because that is meaningless, right? But there is a relationship, that is every student is a person, every employee is a person, and every person will have a name, right? Yes, no?
Right.
Yeah, so for that reason, but you don't want anyone to create an instance of a person, which is meaningless, right? A person is nothing. So make it abstract so that no one can create instance of it, but they can make use of it such that every student, and see now because this inherited, I cannot create an instance of person, but my student will have a name, right?
Name.
See that? And my employee also will have a name, but the place where name is declared, that is the person, cannot be instantiated. So that makes it abstract. Okay, on the same line, the person can have public void sleep. So there's a function called sleep. Okay, and let's keep this abstract. Okay, Okay, abstract method won't have open braces and closed braces. It will just have the definition like this.
So abstract class can have regular methods as well. Can we have?
Yes, I think it just worked for me, so I think it can. Okay, now we have declared sleep as abstract, correct? Now any class which is deriving from this, okay, has to implement the sleep. So the student class is giving exception, I mean error, the compile error. Okay, now, and it is also giving me a hint here, add unimplemented methods. So if as soon as I click this, now it is overriding the sleep and giving a definition for it. The same employee, when I do the same here, you can actually type in that, or you can just come to this error and click on that pop-up. That will implement it for you. Okay. Yeah, Shitala, I've unmuted you. All right. So anyone who's still not understanding what is abstract class? Abstract class is just an abstract keyword with the class definition that makes sure the class cannot be instantiated, and because it cannot be instantiated, it can only be derived. And when you derive it, all your abstract methods needs to be implemented. If there is at least one, it won't even let you run it. That is the concept of abstract. So you just tell what and what kind of a function it is to be done. So for example, every person should be able to sleep, every person should be able to run. So if you want to make sure everyone who's deriving from your class defines it, then you can actually make that class as abstract. You are forcing your child to do it. It's like that.
So we know that particular method, we should also define it as like public abstract and then the method name. We should write the word abstract in front of it.
In your abstract class, you should do it. See, here you are not even defining it. You don't have a open brace, close brace. What should happen inside the sleep? You are only defining the type. So for example, if this takes a parameter int age, and maybe string name. Okay. If it is doing these two, now your student will throw error telling that okay, this is not implementing that. Okay. So because this is a different definition. Now if I do the same thing here, whatever parameters I have here, I need to do the same for all the inherited classes. So this is stop error. This will also stop error as soon as I give the same.
Okay. Yeah.
So you are only defining how it should be. Correct?
Yeah.
So you are not declaring, I mean, how do I put it? You are just mentioning how its type should be. What should be the return type? What should be the input type? What should be the name of it? All those things you're telling. But you're not telling what should be inside that. How you, whatever you can do, whatever you want inside that.
But there should be at least one abstract method in the abstract class, right?
Yes, but that is not compulsory. You, there could be, I mean, there is no point in having an empty class. For that reason, yes, there should be some definition, but that doesn't mean it will give a compile error. No.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions in the abstract?
Is there any specific way we should know when to choose an abstract class versus a regular class?
When you don't want someone to create an instance of it, go with abstract.
Okay.
Otherwise, keep it normal.
Okay.
You want to make sure you have some definitions, but no one should create an instance of it. Then keep it abstract. And at the same time, you know what all functions should be there, but you don't know how it will be implemented. Then also you can go with that abstract. So you can just define every person should have a sleep, every person should have a run. Okay, but you don't know how that sleep should happen. You don't know how that run should happen. So you just define it as abstract, and whoever wants implement this.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Clear, everyone?
Is there a real abstract class in the Java library, JRE?
What do you mean? I didn't get your question.
So basically, in the Java, in the functions and the
No, I am not aware of it. There could be. I'm not aware of it.
okay.
Yeah. All right.
Is it possible to have just an abstract method without declaring the class as an abstract?
I am not sure. I don't think so. You can give it a try.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Vinod, in the class that is extending the abstract class, can we go to that class?
Yeah.
So if I create an object over here in the main method, like person P is equal to new student, will that be a valid call?
Person P equal to new student. Yes.
So that is not creating the object of person, right? That is not interpreted. That will not be interpreted as creating the object of person.
Yes.
That will be creating the object of student, right?
Yeah.
But we are using
Polymorphism.
the type. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is the? Don't bring in polymorphism and get confused. Keep it simple.
Just wanted to like confirm, not polymorphism. Just wanted to confirm that part.
It will work fine.
Yeah.
This is polymorphism here, but abstract class means you cannot create an instance of it. That is a simple reason. Okay.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
And all its abstract methods need to be overridden in its child class. Otherwise, the compiler will not let you run.
Okay.
Any other questions before I proceed?
Vinod, are you going to cover the interfaces also?
Yes.
Okay. I think then I don't want to ask. It is about.
Okay. Okay. We'll cover that shortly. Any questions in abstract? If not, I'll proceed now. Anyone? Okay. Is there anyone who has still not understood what is abstract class? Can please raise your hand. No one? That is good. Okay.
One final question, Vinod. So if we have like non-abstract methods in the abstract class and the class that is extending the abstract class, if I create the object of that class and call the non-abstract method from the abstract class, I can do that. Can I do that?
Yes. Yes, you can do it. I don't want to do it here. You can give it a try. Yes, it will work.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So don't. For people who are in the beginning stage of understanding this, don't overcomplicate things. Just know that abstract class cannot be instantiated, and whatever example I gave is good enough. Keep it to that level. Okay. Yeah. Next question.
Can we have the abstract methods implemented also in the abstract class?
No, you cannot.
So we should always just have the signature in the abstract.
Yes. So if you want to define it like this, it will give you error.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Let's move on now.
So Vinod, so abstract class will not have any. I mean, the method in an abstract class will not have any steps. It will be empty.
Yes, it is only what is the you are defining what is the type of it, what is the name of it, only those things. You don't define what happens inside it.
Oh, name and only the arguments.
Name, arguments, return type. All right.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right. So let's move on to the next topic, that is interface. Before that, can we take a 10 minutes break?
Yeah.
So
Yes, please.
yeah, let's meet at now it is 6:57, right, for you? So let's meet at 7:05. All right.
Okay.
So far we have seen abstract class, right? And I have told you abstract class here we can use it for inheritance, where you won't create an instance of the abstract class, but you can create instances of its inherited class. Correct, Chitra?
Yes.
Now, on the same lines, inheritance is a relationship, right?
Right.
Now, interface is has a relationship. Okay, let me
Okay.
show you. This abstract method interface. So interface is a reference type in Java. It is similar to class, okay, and it just has a abstract methods inside it. Okay, and just like abstract class, you cannot create an instance of an interface. Interface does not have any constructor or anything, and all the methods in the interface are abstract. You cannot have definitions of anything. Okay, then I have given some more details, like there can be multiple interface for a given class. I'll show you over the example, you'll understand it much better. Okay, so these are some definitions. Okay, moving on, I'll just create. Okay, now let me just close this abstract class, close all. So all the code which I'm writing is directly going to Java, I mean the Google Drive. You should be able to see it. Okay, new example. Okay, I'll create a package by name interface example. Okay, in this interface example, let me right click new class, and I'll create a class of entry and make it public static void main and finish it. Okay, now from here I can put a system.out, but let me not do that. Let me create another class, or let me create an interface, new interface, and let me give an interface a name. Okay, I'll give it as usually the syntax is with starting with I, just to make sure everyone who sees the class name understands that it's an interface. Okay, so I savable. Okay, I savable is a interface. I'll just finish this. So here you can see, just like a class, we are having a interface, and it's given a name here. Okay, when I explain the whole example, you'll understand it why we need interface. Okay, now I can create another class, call it maybe hero. Okay, and okay, finish this, and I can have a new class, call it as enemy, and finish this. Okay, now my hero class, okay, can implement I savable. Sorry, implements I savable. Okay, do you see that?
Yes.
And on the same line, I can say my enemy also in isabable. Okay, clear?
Okay.
Now, if I have a function defined here, public abstract void save, and the save will take in maybe a string and call it as timestamp. Okay, can have maybe another string, maybe name. Okay, now each of your hero and enemy need to implement it. So it will give this error, and add unimplemented methods will create it for you. It is overriding save, and enemy also the same thing. So just like abstract class, you have to add the unimplemented methods, and now you will be able to do it. No errors. Okay. Now the question is, what is the difference between abstract class and interface? Abstract class we use when there is a is a relationship. Interface we use for a has a relationship, because there can be multiple interfaces. Just like saveable, I can create another interface, call it as iDiable. Okay, I mean I'm just giving this name so that it's easy to understand. Okay, now in iDiable I can have a function called public abstract void die, and this will just take timestamp. Okay, now all my hero and enemy need to, so this is not giving error because I'm still not implementing iDiable, correct? But I can implement it, so I can just say comma iDiable. Now when I add it, it will give error telling that it has to implement the unimplemented methods, and I'm adding it and it is implemented. I'm sorry, it should be DIE. Okay, and here let me change it to DIE. All right. Now, one minute before any questions, let me finish off the other thing. Here also, I can say, okay, okay, let me do this much. Then I'll tell you where we implement this, where we use this. Okay. Now, hero is not a savable. Hero is not a dieable, but hero can die. Hero can die. Hero can save. Right? Save, I mean, you can save the, see, this is the example of a game. Okay, in the game we have a hero, we have a enemy. Okay, now hero also will die in the game, enemy also can die. Hero also can be, the state of the hero can be saved when you log off, and when you log back in, you can get back the hero state, correct? At the same time, the same thing will happen for even the enemy, correct? So anything, any class or any character in this case, whichever needs to implement the save, you just use the iSaveable and just finish it off. Are you getting the point?
Yes, Manoj.
Okay. Now, so far, does anyone have any questions so far before I tell the next point?
Vinod, can you please explain interface again?
Interface is just like your abstract class, but here for abstract class you can derive to the subclass, right? But because it is a inheritance, you can derive from just one class, not from many. But in case of an
Okay.
interface, you can have n number of interfaces.
Okay.
Yeah, that is the main
Okay.
difference. Other than that, it is very similar.
So Vinod, why would we think of having many interfaces?
Now,
what is the purpose? Yeah.
Now say that you want to define, you have a game, okay, a simple game. A simple game, you want to make sure everyone who is doing the save operation follows a particular rule.
Right.
Everyone who is saving needs to save the timestamp. Everyone who is saving needs to save the state of the character. Everyone who is saving needs to follow certain rules. Okay? You define all those things in iSaveable, and you tell that, okay, whoever is implementing it, in future someone comes up in a new character, maybe any hero is done. Now maybe we can have a third character coming as a judge or something, or there could be maybe environment characters, or anything, some neutral characters, something. But whichever you want, you have, if you want to save the state of it, you have to implement iSaveable, and you have to follow the rules. So here you are forcing, by defining iSaveable, you are forcing that save should be such and such a definition.
Okay.
And at the same time, just because I am able to save my hero doesn't mean the hero will not die. He can die also. So for dying also, you can define it, rules.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So you can have multiple.
So in abstract class, from abstract class we can like public class hero extends abstract class. Only one abstract class it can extend, like that, is it?
Yeah, inheritance can be only from one parent.
Only one parent. Multiple inheritance is not there.
Yeah.
But but one class can implement many interfaces.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Vinod, does the class have to implement all the methods that are defined in the interface?
Yes, it has to.
Okay.
If you are implementing it, then you have to define it. If you're not implementing, you need not. For example, in my enemy, I did not implement iDieable. I just implemented iSaveable. So I have added only the save function, not the die function. Clear?
Yes.
Vinod, are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Like in interface class, we can have only abstract methods, or we can have
Only
any not.
Only abstract methods.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Yes, Vinod.
Okay. Now, in interface also, polymorphism will come into picture. I'll show you how. In the entry, I'll create a hero. Okay. Hero h equal to new hero. Of course, you cannot do iSaveable equal to new iSaveable. Definitely, you cannot create instance of interface. Okay. But here I have created hero. Right. Let me create enemy. Now, hero and enemy don't have a common parent, correct? In our previous example of abstract class, we had the employee and the student coming from the person. Person was the parent, employee and student were child, correct?
Correct.
Here, now, enemy and hero don't have a common parent. There is no parent at all here.
Right.
Correct? But still, you can use polymorphism. So if I have a function, maybe public static void function 1, and if it is taking iSaveable, and I'll just keep the variable name as something like characters, or I'll just say game character. Okay, and okay, I'll keep it like this. Now I can pass my hero, sorry, h into this, that is this hero, and I can also pass employee into this, because both the classes implement that interface. Okay, but when you receive it here, the game changer, game character, when you say dot, you can only get methods from that saveable. So if you have a save method here, only that will come here. No other functions will come. Are you able to understand?
Yes, Vinod.
Now, if hero has some other function, say for example here, if I have another function called public void run. Now I cannot use that here. I cannot use it here. Game.run won't come because this is not a hero. This is only the iSaveable. Okay, so the hero is taking the form of iSaveable here. Enemy is also taking the form here. So it is actually polymorphism. So, but remember, this is only a mechanism, not a keyword or anything. So here also you can see the polymorphism. The advantage is that any class that is implementing the interface can play the role of the interface. So if there is a function which is taking just the interface, type interface, then you can pass in the object of the hero or the enemy in this case into this function, and you can execute something in common. Even though hero and enemy are not common, right? They do not derive from the same parent. They are totally different. Hero is a different character, enemy is a different character, and there could be a building or something in the game. They could be a different thing. But if they all implement iSaveable, they can all use a common function like this. They can all play a common role just by polymorphism concept.
This implementation of okay, you told that hero, because we are passing function one of hero, we are passing hero instead of game iSaveable. H cannot, we cannot implement any hero method.
Yes, because once you find, see, in line number 15, game character is a reference of hero, or is it a reference of iSaveable?
Yeah, it's a reference of iSaveable. That I understand. But this is
Yeah.
the same
So
in
one minute. So
class
if it is
also, no.
1 minute, if it is a reference of iSaveable, from when you say dot, from that you can only find iSavable's detail. If it is a reference of string, you can get only the string functions. If it is a reference of hero, you can find only the reference. The functions of hero. Correct?
Hero. Okay, but the concept is the same in class also. No, if you are going to inherit a class,
but you cannot have
polymorphism.
So yeah, polymorphism is the same, but in case of inheritance you cannot have multiple, right? So now if I say instead of this, I can just say if you have a function one, and if it is accepting idiab, okay, then you can pass hero but not enemy, because
Okay,
only
okay.
hero is
Implementing. Okay, okay.
So
No,
here
what I'm
polymorphism.
comparing
No, I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. So here you are actually see now, just for your example, I will go to enemy and implement that idiable also. Now
this we
here,
cannot do in class. This we can do only in interface.
yes, that's right. So you got your answer. Now you don't have this error.
No. I'm telling. See, if I'm going to put see inside public static void function, if I'm going to put if I look for functions of hero, I will not get, because I'm passing only IDiable.
Yeah, but you can of course do a typecast. I told you that yesterday. You can do that.
Yeah, but that's not safe. Even if I'm going to inherit one class, then I can inside public static void function, if this were a class, if it extends a class, can I use hero function? Can I call hero function inside func1?
Yes, you can. That is what we spoke 20 minutes back about abstract. So abstract is that, interface is this. Abstract class is that. Okay, give me a minute. Give me a minute. Let me stop the recording. I don't want to confuse others. If you're not able to